Hello, I'm ATZ, and this video is going to be a tutorial that focuses on optimizing your overall gameplay in Majora's Mask. There's a lot of tutorials for different categories or specific tricks or strats, but there's nothing that really talks about the minor things in the game, and I consider those things to be really important because they add up to a lot of time over the course of your run if you know about them. As of now, if you're a beginner or if you're learning a new category or something, you pretty much just have to notice and figure out a lot of things on your own from watching other people play, and I don't think that's very good, so I've talked with a few other knowledgeable people in the community, and we've come up with a list of things that we consider to be kind of obscure, things that a lot of people either don't know about or just don't do for whatever reason. So you'll probably get the most out of this video if you're a beginner or a mid-tier player. But even if you're a top level player, there's probably a thing or two in here that you don't do right now, but you could to improve your play. Just as a warning, the beginning of this video is going to be very simple, but after I cover the basics, I'll get into some more advanced things, some of which are category specific. So the majority of things in here I recorded in like 1 or 2 attempts, so nothing is going to be perfect, but it should give you a good idea of how everything works. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, and something that I think is really important, is text mashing. So you might be thinking, well, all I have to do is just mash buttons, right? But there's actually different types of text boxes in the game, and each of them require different types of mashing to get through optimally. So even if you're a really experienced player, a top runner, whatever, I really encourage you to stick around for this section because, like I said, it's something that I think is very important, and there are very few runners who actually mash text correctly, and a lot of them end up losing time because of it. So it's something that you should pay attention to, even if it's something that you don't think is very big. So first I'll talk about the simple type of text box, which I call the slow text boxes. These text boxes scroll automatically, meaning that even if you press buttons, you can't advance to the next text box until the text scrolls completely to the end. So you'll see these primarily in scenes that involve major story elements of the game, stuff like the intro or when you're going to the moon to fight Majora. For these text boxes, you can mash A, B, and C up to advance to the next text box. So you should mash all 3 of them, but just try not to press them at the same time so you don't overlap inputs by accident. Now, the second kind of text box is the one that a lot of people lose time to. I like to call them fast text boxes. So fast text boxes are the ones where you can press a button to advance to the end of the text box immediately, and then press a button again to get to the next text box, and so on. However, unlike slow text boxes, you shouldn't just mash anything that you want, but you should only mash the B button. So to explain why, first I have to kind of talk about how they work with different buttons. So if you press the A button on a fast text box, the text will scroll to the end of that text box, but you'll have to press A another time to get to the next one, and then continue the pattern. Like you'll have to press A to get to the end of the text box again, and then press A to get to the next text box, and then A to get to the end, and so on. So here's a clip showing what it looks and sounds like if you mash only the A button on fast text boxes. If you were listening closely, you probably heard a bunch of little ding noises all throughout the text boxes. That noise was each individual text box being completed, so I was pressing the A button once to advance to the end, and then another time to advance to the next box. So now let's talk about mashing only B. On fast text boxes with more than one text box, pressing the B button twice will immediately scroll to the end of that NPC's paragraph of text, like big grouping of text boxes that are all together. So what that means is that you're skipping every single one of the inputs which advance to the next box when I was mashing only A. So here's an example of mashing only the B button. And listen to the sound again here as the text scrolls, and you'll notice that it's very different in comparison to the first clip. on that clip, you probably noticed that the ding noises that were there when I was mashing only the A button were not there. They were completely skipped. The only two noises were when I selected an option and the very last text box at the end of the paragraph. So now here's a comparison of those two clips side by side so you can see just how big mashing B compared to A is. I'll be mashing A on the left side and B on the right side, and just for the future there's going to be a few of these little things like this. The slower thing is always going to be on the left and the faster thing will always be on the right, just for future reference. So just in one paragraph of dialogue, I saved 1 second simply by mashing only the B button compared to the A button. But we gotta be a little bit more realistic about it here. So we know that most runners mash A, B, and C up. So they're mashing B for the text, right? So why do the other buttons matter? Well, what can happen is that depending on which button you happen to press first, like it's pretty much just random, you can accidentally give yourself a string of text boxes that you have to manually advance, like I showed in the A press example. In runs, the time loss won't be as extreme, but it does happen and you will lose seconds throughout the run to something as simple as mashing. Since I personally understand how the text works and I pay attention to the sounds during text boxes, it's really easy for me to notice when people mash the A button when they shouldn't be pressing it and they lose time because of it. Like even top players make this mistake all the time and I notice it, and I know they're just losing time for no reason. So now, along with the text mashing, let's talk a little bit more about the options in the dialogue. It varies from like NPC to NPC, but on some NPCs, pressing the B button doesn't let you answer a dialogue option. So in shops and stuff, don't do this because it's going to cancel you out of the shop. But for example, like the Scarecrow Grandma, when you get Sonata, you can just mash B and B does not answer their question. It doesn't answer their option, whatever. So what that means is you can basically mash B as much as you want without having to worry about accidentally pressing the wrong option and losing a bunch of time. So here's another example of talking to the grandma where I'm going to mash B and mash down on the control stick to first advance the text as fast as I can, and then scroll down as fast as I can, press the A button once to choose a story, and then go back to mashing B for the rest of her fast text. You can see that when it's done well, it's really, really fast. So now we can add another small layer to this, which is holding a direction on the control stick to scroll to a different option faster. Here's an example on the Scarecrow. Now all I did here was wait until his text started scrolling, and then I started holding down while mashing. So as long as you start holding down during the same paragraph where the NPC's question is, you'll scroll down to the next option on the first frame possible. But this only works on NPCs where there's only two options, because holding down is only going to make you scroll once. So if you wanted to do this on the grandma, for example, you could hold down, but then you'd have to press down again after you scroll to the middle option. So personally, I think it's just better if you just mash down on grandma, but you could hold down if you really wanted to. I just think it's a lot more annoying. So anyway, in summary for all this, here's what you should do in text mashing. For slow moving text, you can mash A, B, and C up. Any of them, it doesn't matter what you do. For fast moving text boxes that are only one text box, you can also mash A, B, and C up. But for fast moving text boxes that contain 2 or more text boxes, you should mash only the B button. Okay, now let's start talking about actual gameplay. First, I'm going to cover some really basic things that a lot of you probably already know, but I've seen enough people make these mistakes that I feel like I should mention them here. So the first one is mask transformations. You'll see here in a second that taking off a mask to go human is normally much faster than putting on a transformation mask. But I see a lot of people make this really simple mistake, and that is pressing nothing when they put on a mask. When you put on a mask, you should just hold a direction to cancel the cutscene as soon as possible. If you're worried about moving at all, you can just hold shield to make sure that you don't move from your current spot. The same thing also applies to songs like the inverted Song of Time, except instead of holding a direction, you just want to press buttons. Like, you can pretty much press anything. So you'll see here that it's quite a bit faster than just doing nothing. Now let's talk a little bit about equips. Equips are another thing that are really important because you can lose a ton of time to not knowing what your equips are. You should always try to do your best to do each equip as fast as you can for obvious reasons, and there are a few different ways you can help yourself here. The first thing that I actually didn't know for a long time myself is that instead of pressing a direction a bunch of times to get across the pause menu, you can hold a direction when you press pause to start scrolling through the menu immediately as soon as you gain control. Here's an example on Goat, where all you do is just pause, hold up left, release up left when you get to the bow, and then equip it. This is going to take a little bit of getting used to because obviously it's timing based, but once you get used to it, you'll be doing your equips much faster than you ever could by mashing directional inputs. Another way you can improve your equips is by getting used to scrolling to different pages on the menu. You can do this to skip a lot of cursor movement on the pause menu on certain equips. So, for example, let's say you want the Goron mask and Ocarina. The best way to do this is to pause, scroll to the mask menu to equip Goron, and then scroll back and equip Ocarina. On top of these two things, it's best if you also try to memorize the equips for whatever category you're playing. It's just going to make your menuing much quicker because you're going to know exactly what you need. Now let's start talking about movement. Knowing proper movement is key, and there are a lot of minor things you can do to improve it. First is proper roll spacing. The idea is to roll only when Link reaches his maximum run speed. This is a short task by sample name right here, which shows frame perfect rolls. Obviously your rolls as a human are not all going to be perfect, but you should try to be as close as you can because it does make a difference. Rolling late is better than rolling too early. If you roll too early, it means Link was not fully accelerated and your roll won't be as fast as it could be. But if you roll too late, it doesn't matter because you have full speed anyway. With movement, understanding the camera in MM is equally as important because if you don't understand it, then it'll do really dumb things to you that'll make you lose time. I'm sure if you've played this game at all, you've probably had a scenario like this one before. Let's say that I want to run forward and then do some sig box movement down these stairs. First I run forward, then I'm going to turn left, and Link does a backflip even though I'm clearly holding to the right. If you don't know how the camera works, these kinds of things are going to happen to you all the time, and it can be really annoying. Let's try to understand the camera. The first thing you should know is that Link's action is based off of the direction the camera is facing relative to him. So here I'm facing the camera. This means if I want to do a backflip, I have to press target and then tap up and A. Now I'll face the camera again here, but this time I want to side hop into the loading zone. The loading zone is to the camera's left, meaning that to side hop to the loading zone, I have to target, then press left and A. After this, I want to switch the control stick to the right as it pans behind Link, and I can keep side hopping in that direction. If I was to keep holding left, the camera would pan behind him, and then I would just side hop back the direction that I don't want to go. This can be pretty annoying at first, but once you understand the camera, your movement in general can become a lot more fluid. An example that everyone uses is entering the inn. Since the camera is locked in a certain position for a few seconds when you enter this door, you have to do an up left side hop down these stairs. Here's another one in the Gibdo house. In this one, I'm going to tap down, then tap left and A to do a side hop, and that'll allow myself to back walk down the stairs. In this example, releasing left fast is really important. If I was to continue holding left for too long, I would slow my momentum down by holding left when the camera panned behind Link, because he's actually side hopping to his right. One more example is at the beginning of Cycle 1. Here I do an upright side hop based on how the camera is positioned, and it lets me save a few frames compared to the standard strat in this area. It's a lot more tricky to do these things, but if you master them, you'll open up a lot of different ways to do movement. Another way the camera commonly messes up is when you climb or gainer up ledges. Sometimes it'll give you a really weird camera and it'll give you messed up controls for a few seconds. To stop this from happening, all you have to do is hold target while you're climbing the ledge. So, as you can see here, I'm doing 2 gainers, but I'm not holding target as I do the gainers. I'm just releasing target and climbing up. And you'll see that the camera messes up for me. Now, I'll hold target and you can see that the camera stays perfectly behind me and I can control myself right away. While we're talking about ledges, there are a couple different ways you can climb them faster than usual. Normally, if you just hold towards the ledge you want to climb, Link will do a little shuffle animation and then he'll climb it. If you press A during the shuffle animation, he'll immediately climb the ledge before finishing the animation. So it's kind of like a hidden action command. The better your timing is, the more frames you're going to save by doing this, because obviously if you press A earlier, you're going to climb faster. When you can, you should side hop up ledges instead, because it's the fastest way to get up them. You can combine knowledge of how the camera works with side hopping up ledges too. Here you're going to see that I'll take off the Goron mask and hold upright. Link is going to take off the mask, and after he turns from me holding upright, I do an up left side hop to grab the ledge, making sure that I hold target as I climb it so that my camera doesn't get messed up. If you want to side hop up a ledge, be careful that you don't miss a side hop on a small ledge like this one. Instead, you should try to side hop either into a corner or give Link a lot of space to make sure that he'll be able to grab the ledge every time. Another small thing is jump slash canceling. Normally when you do a jump slash, Link has this little animation where he has to get up after the jump slash, and it's pretty slow. If you do a jump slash cancel, you can get rid of that animation when you land on the ground and it saves a few frames. To do one, all you want to do is just spin the control stick when Link is about to touch the ground. If you're scared of falling off of something, you can hold shield while spinning your control stick like I'm about to do here in Woodfall. By doing this, you can jump slash cancel when you jump onto the ledge, and then use shield to avoid accidentally jumping off or walking onto the switch. Now that we know these different movement techniques and how the camera works, we can put them all together like right here. First, I'm going to time my rolls so that Link is at full speed, and then I'm going to do a jump slash cancel across this ledge. When I jump across, I'm going to turn Link up left, and then do an up right side hop to grab the ledge, making sure that I hold target so that my camera doesn't get messed up. Next, I'm going to talk about quick drawing and aiming. Quick drawing is a frame saver that sadly no one really does consistently other than myself and like 2 or 3 other runners. So a quick draw is something that lets you get one of Link's aimable items in his hand before you actually need to use that item. If you're familiar with weird shots, you probably know that having the hookshot or bow in Link's hand is a key component to making the trick work. That's because if you do a quick draw, you can aim faster than usual, as you can see right here. So by drawing the hookshot compared to having nothing in his hand, the result is that you're able to aim 4 frames sooner. But what if Link has something else in his hand? It's harder to see, but with the sword in his hand, Link aims the hookshot 1 frame faster than having nothing in his hand. As it turns out, Link aims at different speeds depending on which item he's holding. Here's a table that shows how fast he aims when he's carrying various items. So as you can imagine, quick drawing everywhere saves a lot of time throughout the run, especially if you run a longer category. So how do we quick draw? Usually, quick drawing the bow or hookshot is done by holding target, pressing the button that the item is on, and then quickly pressing shield for a few frames so that you don't actually aim it and it just goes into Link's hand. There are a lot of different ways you can put this into action. The most common is backwalking. As you can see here, I backwalk and draw my hookshot and bow by cancelling the aim with shield. You can also do it during backflips and side hops. These are a little bit more uncommon, but there are times where they can be used. You can quick draw while jumping off something or over a gap as well. There's also door quick drawing. To do these, you just walk in front of a door and press the item button followed by pressing A. To do these optimally, you want to press your item button a few frames before you reach the door because, as you can see here, being directly in front of a door doesn't actually allow you to aim at all. You can't until you turn away from it. If you don't like door quick drawing, you can quick draw while running towards the door as well. These are really good to do if you don't have enough space to do a roll before the door. So, like usual, just hold target, press the item and shield, and then open the door. And lastly, you can do a roll quick draw. These are the hardest ones to do. While holding target and running forward, press bow or hookshot, and then press A to roll. I believe these ones are frame perfect, so only do them if you've put some practice into them, because they're an easy way to lose time. If you're good at them, you can quick draw something while doing timed rolls without losing any time at all. You can also quick draw your sword, which is useful for pulling out your sword if you have a power crouch stat value that you don't want to overwrite. You can do this while jumping across things too, but it's a little bit more tricky. So while quick drawing makes us able to start aiming faster, there are other ways you can improve your aim that will save even more time. Aim is something that as a newer player, you don't really realize how much time you're losing to it, so practicing it can really help you out. The first thing here is pretty well known, and it is pressing target while aiming to aim up or down very quickly. You should only use this though if you're sure that you can hit your target easily by aiming only up or down. As you can see here, combining quick drawing and using target to aim significantly speeds up this room. A good way to get better at aiming in general is to practice moving your control stick only in small increments. A lot of people who are new to the game tend to just tap the control stick around, and it leads to aim that's really jerky, and it's more difficult to be precise with your shots. Instead, try to practice only lightly tilting the control stick, like if you were trying to use ESS position. By practicing this, it can make your overall aim much smoother, and you'll save time as a result. Aiming also works a little bit differently depending on if you tap or hold down the button before shooting. As you can see here, tapping the hookshot button hits the top of this ledge, but if I hold down the hookshot button, my aim is slightly higher, and my hookshot goes past the ledge. Sometimes only one of the two methods will work for precise shots, such as scarecrow skip. So if you know you're really close to hitting it, try the method you don't normally use, and it might end up working. To end the video, I'm just going to finish by talking about a few miscellaneous things which save time, but are more situational and category based. The first is holding target when you're about to take fall damage. If you fall off something really high, like if you make a mistake in Snowhead, you can target before you land to cancel Link's damage animation, as you see here. It's useful in all masks too, where you have to fall down to the bottom of stone towers going on. If you need to grab any object, like anything that you need to push or pull, you can be holding A long before you reach it to grab it immediately. I think this is mostly relevant for glitchless, but it makes things a lot easier because you don't have to try to time grabbing something and potentially losing time because you timed your A press wrong. When you're surfacing as Zora, press A when Link hits the surface of the water to climb out faster. He usually has an animation of him surfacing, but pressing A lets you climb out right away, similar to climbing up ledges. Lastly, there's fast Goron rolling. I have another video about this strat, so I won't go into too much detail here, but the basic idea is to run, then start a roll, and then on your control stick, drop to a position that's slightly above ESS, and then go back to the full direction. If you do this where there's snow, ice, or sand, it lets you gain full speed immediately and skips the slow portion of a normal roll. You can use this in a lot of places in any category that gets the Goron mask. A big one is in all masks, where you do lullaby skip as Goron. Doing a fast Goron roll lets you skip multiple wind cycles, as you can see here. Even though it was really sketchy and I bonked into a wall, I still made it. In probably about 5 minutes messing around just for this video, I managed to get it a couple times without even getting ISG, so it goes to show just how much time it can save. Anyway, that's the end of the video, so I hope I was able to help you learn something new. Thank you for watching, and good luck in your runs.